So I sold it. After almost 2 years of owning the Canon EOS R5, I finally decided to sell it. I let it go. I sold it to an awesome local photographer here in the Bay. He was really pumped, really excited. He saved up his money to get the Canon EOS R5. It's kind of weird to say because even in my Canon R5's 1-year review, I said that I was planning on keeping the R5, but that's all changing today because of something that we're getting in the mail today and what's in the title of this video. So let's get into this video.
Rajah. He's from Bombay. Yeah, he became a millionaire. I did. Good guy. Yeah. Good guy. Yeah. He's have a good one, man.
Alright guys, so we finally got the product right here. But obviously before we get into our first look and review on this product right here, we have to give it a proper unboxing. But I want to do something special, but we have to go to another place. It's not going to be here, it's going to be another place, so I'll catch you guys there. Alrighty, and there you guys can see, lo and behold, the Canon EOS R5 C. It's actually the same on all sides. You guys may be wondering, for those who are more used to owning cameras like the RP, the R5, the R6, a lot of the stills cameras, you guys may be wondering, why does this box look a lot different compared to those boxes? And the reason to that is because this is actually the packaging that Canon uses for their cinema cameras. So obviously, since the EOS R5 C, the C does stand for something, which is indeed for cinema, since it is finally within the Canon Cinema EOS lineup. And because of that, it is packaged more like their cinema cameras than it is of their photo cameras. So I think that is good for an unboxing. Now, tomorrow when there is more light, we're gonna take this camera outside, film a lot more with it, and yeah, just get my first initial impression on the R5 C. So let's jump over to that. Alright you guys, today is indeed official shoot day. Here we have the Canon EOS R5 C. Today's the next day after we just finished unboxing it. We're here outside beautiful Natoma Lake. And yeah, so today we're just purely just gonna be testing out the R5 C in different scenarios, kind of just get more of like a practical shoot scenario, see how I feel about it. So guys, while we're reviewing the Canon EOS R5 C, I did take the liberty to actually write down some stuff that I want to talk about. So honestly, while I'm using this camera, I'm just gonna be going everything that I wrote down, the differences between the R5 C and the Canon EOS R5, and a lot of that other stuff. So hey man, yeah, that's pretty much going, dude. Bro, wait, where do you show up?
Dude, this is sick.
I'm trying to film a video here.
Alright.
Yes, that's
it's got like 8K 60, right?
Yes, it can do.
I mean, isn't this thing kind of like the same thing as like the R5, but just a fan on it?
I mean, it's very similar to the R5. Just need to do more testing with it because I gotta make content with guys.
Let me have the camera.
Bro, get out. I'm trying to make this.
Let me have the camera. Come on.
You done?
You know what?
Yeah,
here you go. Have the camera. I'll catch you guys.
All right. Anyways, let's just get into shooting. Alright guys, now it is our first vlog clip with the Canon EOS R5 C. So I guess the first thing that I do want to talk about when it comes to the R5 C is the 4K quality on this camera. So when it comes to the 4K, it is pretty much identical to the 4K HQ on the R5, which means that you are getting that downsampled 8K into 4K, so it's going to look a lot sharper compared to the R5's typical, standard 4Ks. So the first thing that I wrote in my notebook is, how do I switch between photo and video faster? Because as you guys know, from a lot of people's tests, it takes about 8 to 9 seconds to get between photo to video and video to photo. So how can I make that faster? So a quick tip with the Canon EOS R5 C, especially if you're trying to switch between photo and video a lot quicker, one thing you can do is actually disable the sensor cleaning. And when you disable the sensor cleaning, literally the time goes from like 8 to 9 seconds of delay to about 4 seconds. So if you guys are someone who is constantly switching between video and photo, definitely disabling that sensor cleaning will help in the long run. And next is when it comes to CF Express media and recommendations. So personally for me, I do use the ProGrade 650 gig Cobalt card. It is a pretty expensive card. If you guys do look up the price on the ProGrade Cobalt, those things can be expensive, but definitely for the lower buffer times and especially even like the data recovery on those cards, they're really good. However, the Steve Express that I would definitely recommend, especially if you are more on a budget and you kind of want to save yourself some money when it comes to media, the one piece of media that I would definitely recommend is the new Angelbird AV Pro SE 512 gig. So for 512 gigs, you're only paying $180, which is really good for price to performance. Honestly, I'm a bit sad because I don't have the R5 next to me. As I did mention earlier in this video, I already sold it, so I can't really do a hand-to-hand comparison. But from personal experience, most of it is relatively the same. The differences with the new R5 C and some of the new additions is obviously you're going to get that extra depth in the back, which houses the internal fan. So obviously, if you're doing like 8K and all that kind of stuff, you know, this fan is definitely going to help prevent any sort of overheating. Some other differences is that you are getting that timecode port, so if you like to connect multiple cameras at the same time, have it all recording at the same time, that timecode can really come in handy. All the other ports on the left-hand side of the camera are pretty much the same. Yes, you are getting micro HDMI. I'll kind of get to that a bit later in the video. So yeah, so that's all the same. Not only does it have writing inside the buttons, but it also has writing on the outside. So anything on the outside of the button is for the cinema operating system, and anything on the inside of the button is for the photo operating system. Toggle it this way, it goes to video. When you toggle it the other way, it goes to photo. So literally, it is practically the closest you can get to two cameras in one body. So definitely a lot of differences. Another big confusion with the R5C that I do want to clear up a bit is definitely when it comes to the 8K 60 and just the 8K RAW and all that kind of stuff. Since there does seem to be some confusion of when am I going to need an external power source, like do I need an external power source for all 8K, what is it like? So pretty much when it comes to anything above 8K 30 with 8K 50 frames or 8K 60 frames, technically, I will say this first, you can record at any mode with this camera without, you know, an external power source or an external portable charger. So even with 8K 50 and 8K 60, you can technically still record it just with the LPE6 batteries. But there is a caveat with that, is that you're not going to have any communication between any electronic lenses or electronic accessories. So if you are using that multi-shoe adapter or any RF lenses or any lens that works electronically, it's not going to cooperate with the camera itself. So either you can use the dummy battery to an external wall charger, or you can easily get yourself one of these things right here. So what we have right here is the Anker Power Core. This is the Power Core Plus 26,800 milliamp hour. This is the PD 45 watt charger. I know it's a pretty long name and it is a pretty big portable charger, but the nice thing with this charger is that you can easily keep it in your pocket. Just have one Type-C cable to Type-C cable, plug it into USB Type-C, and you do have USB PD delivery to the R5C. So the next one is learning the cinema operating system. So if you guys are like me, who is a Canon user, and you guys are really used to the stills menu and you're first going to the cinema menu for the first time, it is definitely, like, there is definitely a bit of a learning curve, I will say. Like, even when I was first operating with it, like, there were so many different options and it was a lot more customizable than the stills menu, because the stills menu, it kind of gives you very limited control with what you can do on the video side. But really, once you get into the cinema operating system, it kind of shows you how much more you get with this camera and just the things that you can do to tweak with the image. And just, yeah, like, there's so much new stuff. And yeah, next up, recording limits are officially gone. The biggest reason of why I sold the R5 and finally moved to the R5C, and one of the biggest reasons why I absolutely love this camera, is that there's no more recording limits. So first up on the Q&A is micro HDMI. So yes, I know that is one thing that a lot of people have been talking about with the R5C, is that this camera still has micro HDMI just like the R5, and they didn't go for the option with full HDMI. And honestly, I think the biggest reason to why they went with micro HDMI over full HDMI is that a lot of the production from the R5, I'm pretty sure they just moved it to the R5C, so that way they can get a lot more supply and a lot more production starting. So when it comes to micro HDMI, personally, I don't mind it for my use, because anytime I'm using the micro HDMI to like the Atomos Ninja 5 Plus, for example, I'm not really like moving it or touching with it. Obviously, I can understand for some people it is still a frustration. The R5C does come with that little mounting kit, so you can mount the micro HDMI to make it a lot sturdier, but I do understand why people are kind of frustrated about it. Next up is the lack of IBIS. So yes, this camera does not have IBIS like the R5 and the R6, And I will say for video shooters, this is actually more of a plus than it is a negative, because now if you are someone who's using like the lens that I have right here, the 50-35, you're not gonna get those weird wobbles in the corner. I know a lot of people had issues with that when the R5 was first announced. But I will say when it comes to IBIS, it really depends on what kind of shooter you are, especially if you are more handheld, and also if you are using a lot more telephoto lenses. So if you're someone who's shooting with like something like, you know, 70 mils, 100 mils, 200 mils, and you know, more tighter and more telephoto lenses, then I can definitely see why IBIS can really come in handy, especially if you're doing handheld, because honestly it is kind of magical of what IBIS can actually do with those super tight lenses. So if you are someone who is doing a lot more handheld work with those telephoto lenses, then it might be worth going back to the R6 or the R5 for that IBIS. So again, it really just depends on what kind of shooter you are. But if you're someone who is using lenses like the R15-35, 24-105, 24-70, you know, a lot more wide angle stuff, not like not super telephoto, then honestly you don't really need IBIS. Now another one is autofocus, especially when it comes to the video mode. So when it comes to the photo mode in the R5 C, it's identical to the R5 with dual pixel AF version 2. You're getting vehicle AF, animal AF, people AF, but when it comes to video, you aren't getting that AF2, and you are going back to a dual pixel autofocus version 1. But personally, when I was doing a lot of tests with autofocus in the video mode with the R5 C, it is honestly extremely fast. Like, I don't really see many issues with this camera. Even for vehicles, it's still really good. I will say for the very specialty features when it comes to animal autofocus, animal eye, and all that kind of stuff, I feel like that's where people can kind of get frustrated with. It is something that I can definitely see Canon putting within a firmware update, because there are a lot of filmmakers out there who do shoot animals, like Philip Bloom, for example. I'm sure a lot of people know. And besides that, you guys, those are the questions that I got about the R5 C. So honestly, we're going to wrap it up with a conclusion of kind of just like my first initial impression on the R5 C, who is it for, and all that good stuff. So let's get to that. And guys, when it comes to my final thoughts on my first look and first impression on the Canon EOS R5 C, to be honest with you guys, this is finally the camera that I really wish Canon came out with back in 2020 when the R5 was first announced, because the way how the R5 was marketed was very much towards videographers and filmmakers, but the more time we got with it, we realized that it was really a photo camera with decent video aspects on the side, and obviously 4K 120 and 8K were more novelty features rather than practical applications. But finally with the R5 C, it really aims to fix that issue, where now, especially having that cinema operating system where we can get things like waveform, false color, shutter angle, LUT monitoring, all of those features within a small portable compact camera like Canon stills cameras. And it really just makes the R5 C just more of a true cinema camera. But also just to remember that this is not just a cinema camera, but it's also such a great stills camera on the other side, and you can get amazing, beautiful, gorgeous images from it. It really just opens up the opportunities for both photographers and videographers to really go towards this camera. Now I will say with the R5 C, when it comes to the negatives, I know I've been talking about a lot of the positives, but so far the only real negative that I've seen from this camera is when it comes to its battery life, since especially using the LP6 batteries in the cinema operating system, personally I just feel like the operating system hasn't been fully optimized for LP6 batteries. I feel like the biggest workaround to that is by having something like that Anker power core or some sort of external power charger where it can do USB PD to the camera. So if you are someone who is really struggling with that battery life, I feel like the best workaround is to get that external power source, that external portable charger. So whatever works for your method, I feel like it'll do. But besides that, that's honestly the only negative that I've seen so far within my initial testings with the R5 C. And with that, you guys, that is going to be it on this video. So if you guys have any more questions or concerns about the R5 C, since I know especially in this video I kind of did rush a lot of things, since I just want to get this video out as soon as possible for you guys to watch, and obviously just talk about most of the main stuff. But if there's anything that I left out, or if you guys have any questions or concerns, definitely leave it in the comments below. I'm more than happy to respond to you guys there. And yeah, that's gonna do for us on this video, so make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you guys on the next video. Peace.